make a board game convention happen. That was just the goal I set for that year about 3 years ago. And then I just followed through. And then I met my business partner, John DeYoung, who had been running Icon for years before that, but they were very tiny. They maybe had, 200 people showing up. They were, really cramped in there into their small building over in downtown Idaho Falls. We built it up. We got the website. We got everything kind of built from there. And since then, we've been growing year after year. We're actually going to go from 3 days this year compared to the 2 we've been doing.
Today on the We Share podcast, we're joined by David Pruitt, the digital director at Sandhill Media and co-owner of Icon, Idaho Convention for Board Gamers. Welcome to the We Share podcast. I'm Julie.
I'm Alex.
We share ourselves and we provide a platform for others to share.
We believe everyone has a purpose and a story to tell.
And we're back on the We Share podcast. I'm Julie.
And I'm Alex.
And it's coworker We Share.
Yeah, we are so lucky to work with such an amazing group of people. Yeah, with all that talent among us, we have to highlight a few. And so we tend to rotate in. We've had some DJs on. But today we have David Pruitt, our digital marketing director, who hails originally from California.
Balloon artist. I'm really interested in the
balloon artist.
Interested in the balloon.
Co-owner of our Icon game boards convention. So he's got his hands in a lot of different things. Father of 3, I believe. He might have to correct me on that, but he's such a hard worker, and he's got a team amongst him that he's brought on with him, and we've just been growing, and it's just fun to watch. So welcome, David Pruitt.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
Yeah.
Hey, David, I always feel like in every work atmosphere, if you work with, a group of people and your peers, there is usually 1 or 2 that you can look at that can do just about everything in the building. Anything south of the DJ studios, David's got a handle on.
Right.
He's the guy that can go to and fix everything for us. So, David, welcome.
Yeah, welcome to We Share.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here today, guys.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up in Idaho?
Yeah, so I guess the story begins with I was in California, and it started when I worked at Disneyland because I'm actually from Anaheim. And the fun story for me on that would be, I might get emotional. But what was for me is I was working at Disneyland. I was 18, 19, 20 years old, and I had a car, I had a girlfriend, things were going great. If you were to look from just, a look from the
30,000
outside
feet.
Yeah, like a snapshot.
Everything in my life is going wonderful, if that makes any sense. But I was probably one of the most miserable people on the inside, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can identify with moments in time like that.
I believe it. And yet again, I was young at the time. So it's kind of like, why is this such a miserable thing? And it's mostly because I discovered in my life I was missing something very important. I didn't have, in my feelings, the Spirit with me, or I didn't have God influencing my life. I didn't have anything like that going on. And I told God in prayer, because I believed in prayer at the time, that if he was willing to work with me, I would work with him. And I made a deal with him, which was really funny. I told him, just because I had some LDS background in my my upbringing, I said, I will go on a mission. That's what I made the deal with. I will go on a mission. If you get me a girlfriend. This is just before that. But once he gave me, if that's the word for it, because I met her.
Once he delivered
good on his end, if that makes any sense. Because literally I said that prayer on December the 24th, 2008. Yeah, on December the 24th, 2008, I had said that prayer. If you get me a girlfriend, I will go on a mission in 1 year's time. On the very next weekend, which was New Year's Eve, I met my girlfriend who I dated for the next year. And then I started my job at Disneyland, and I was miserable as heck. And that's when, on December the 24th, I met someone very special in my life. Her name was Deanna Scherer, and she was working with me as a co-worker at Disneyland, selling balloons and, glow sticks and that kind of stuff. And it was really fascinating because she happened to be LDS herself. And yet again, to the day is how crazy that was. I said that at midnight on December the 24th, so just before Christmas, if that makes any sense. And we're walking back at about midnight, because that's when Disneyland closes, back to the thing. And it takes us about 15 minutes to walk that backstage route. And she said, I happen to be LDS. I have a missionary out, that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, that's funny. I'm sort of LDS myself. She's like, how come you're not on your mission yet? And I'm like, My girlfriend doesn't want me to go. And then she's like, well, you should dump your girlfriend. I was like, whoa. And then it all floods back to me. I made a deal, and I wasn't ready to serve a mission at that time. So I ended up working a little longer, but I started going, meeting with the missionaries, preparing, and I then served a mission in Minnesota 2 years later. Following that, I got back to California after my mission, and I wanted to go to school, and so I went to BYU, Idaho. I studied software engineering, and that's where I met the love of my life, my wife, which I'm sure she'll be so grateful I mentioned her on here.
She will.
Yeah, sure.
What's her name?
My wife's name is Jamie.
Okay.
And she's from Utah. She was an elementary school teacher. That's what she went to
Lovely.
school for.
Does
Lovely.
the gal that
Deanna.
does she know that she had such an impact on you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, she's the one who helped me pretty much understand. She was the one who brought me to singles awards after that, if that makes any sense. Because the family award, there's a weird stage in a man's life when he turns 18 and all your friends are about a year or two younger than you in the priest quorum, if that's the way to look at it. And it was just like, I don't want to go to elders quorum. That's going to suck.
Oh, yeah,
I don't want to hang out
it's
with my
all the
dads.
old men.
Yeah.
They're either too young or too old.
Yeah, and then in California, there's a big disparity. There's no one between the ages of like 20 to 40. So, I mean,
Because they've all left and gone to school, and so you're kind of a man on an island.
but pretty much, yeah. So I got lucky that she was there in my life to directly affect my course of how I got to Idaho.
I love the timing of it being Christmas Eve. It's like almost like, was it God or was it Santa?
Sure.
Delivered out.
Whatever the higher being that you believe in, I actually appreciate so much about that story that you had the faith, because sometimes it does take a delay for us to figure out, oh, that was the higher power speaking to me. And he's like, ugh, David, you stinking idiot. So he puts Deanna in your life, and then you're like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, you got the girlfriend right away, but then you had to have the wake up call, the girl with a message saying, and you're like, oh, yeah, I did make a deal. I think we've all bargained with God over
Don't
a
you think
thing
he
or two or
expects it?
three. Yeah.
As a parent, you expect it.
Yeah.
All three of us are parents. You expect your kids to bargain with you. I think God expects that too from us.
Right.
It's not doesn't mean he's going to give in.
No.
He just wants us to wax our negotiations.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, flex those muscles a little bit. We're okay.
He knows at the end of the day who's got the reins, the power.
Yeah. Okay, but before we talk about BYU Idaho, we got to hit on the balloon artist at Disneyland. So why that avenue? There's so many positions available at Disneyland, and that's where you landed?
Yeah, so I was actually a professional balloon artist at the age of 12, not when I started at Disneyland.
Really?
Yeah, so
Were you a self-taught balloon artist?
no, I actually went to clown school. Funny story for that. You ever go to high school?
This is why we have our people on.
Who knew there was a clown school?
He's graduated clown school. He's official clown.
Okay, tell us all about clown school.
Sure. So it's called the Western Regional Clown Association. It takes place in Laughlin, Nevada, usually about the second week of November. And my mom had, it gets complicated, but at the end of the day, she got hit by a bus. She gained amnesia. She forgot who she was. And then she kind of had a midlife crisis kind of happen because she was married to my dad and they got divorced after that at some point. But she ended up starting clowning because that brought her, I guess, joy, because some people just have that feeling for it.
Well, true. Well, you're sharing something, your gift with kids or adults and making them happy. It has to feel great.
Yeah, so she went down that path, and when I hit about 12, I was living with my dad at the time. She wanted to spend some time with me, so she figured, why not take him to Laughlin, Nevada at a casino? I think it's Don Laughlin's Casino. I can't be 100% sure. I think that's what it's
Perfect
called.
place for a young boy.
Exactly. So I would spend the whole week there, and I would do balloons and magic and juggling and all the other funny stuff on that kind of thing. And it was a lot of fun, and I did that for a couple years in a row. And they would have contests and competitions, and I would win them. And then I would go home, and during the summers, I would spend with my mom typically. I would go to the fairs, and I would do balloon art and that kind of stuff because I wasn't as interested in the face painting and the clowning around. I didn't really like dressing up as a clown.
Clowning
I was
around.
an introverted 12-year-old, if that makes any sense. But when you put like the mask on, if that makes any sense, it was terrifying for me. And so I went the other route with it. And I was like, I'll do balloon art because at least that's something I can do as a craft. And I've won awards almost every year, at least from they called them Junior Joeys because that's what a young clown is a Joey, not a clown. But
It's like a kangaroo.
yeah, exactly like a kangaroo.
Yeah.
And so I've won those competitions, and I just kept the skills up, and I would go and do birthday parties when I was at home. I'd make like $100 an hour. It also affected my grades directly because, what do I need school for if I can make all this money already?
Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay, I got to point out, he is not our only guest that was put in positions like this. Do you remember
I
our
know.
first guest, Leighton Linning?
Yes.
Was in his high chair in a bar while his mom played music.
Like at the bar, just because she needed to
to make money for her family.
It wasn't like Forrest Gump at the bar, right?
No. She was, yeah. So the same kind of situation. Your mom is trying to make some money, but she's got you with her, and she's like, "Okay, let's combine these two activities, and I'll have David with me, and here we go." How interesting!
and then clown.
Yeah. Does your mom still? Is she still
My
a clown?
mom is a clown, but she, generally speaking, at least for the last decade or so, and she just retired this year or so, she's been doing face painting booths. So she travels all the fairs of the West Coast, which is why I've been to pretty much every fair on the West Coast. So I'm kind of over fairs, not to say anything more about that. But we went to Tillamook, Oregon. We went to Prescott, Arizona. We went to most of the California ones, Nevada ones, Oregon, Washington, and all that. So I've hit the whole West Coast all throughout my childhood, just doing all the fairs, making balloons.
My brain is just like rolling through like book titles, like My Mom is a Clown.
Yeah.
I actually have one if you want to hear it.
What is it?
Yeah, so it's my dad thinks he's funny and my mom's a clown. Here I am.
You can write your autobiography now.
Get to know me now. Like, yeah. I mean, it's what makes life interesting, though. Stories. Like, it's why we do
there's
this.
a lot of flavor to David because of that. What's the biggest lesson you learned from being a professional balloon artist?
And
definitely
clowning around.
Yeah, sure. Definitely one of the biggest skills I gained, which definitely helped direct me in my life later on, was just how to talk to people in a general sense. I'm a software engineer by trade, but most people probably wouldn't have guessed that about me. Mostly because if we were to do stereotypes about software engineer people,
They don't
dirty,
talk.
gross, can't communicate what a technical problem is with someone who doesn't understand technical stuff. And having served a mission was also good because it allowed me to be like, I can talk to a big group of people, no big deal. Rather than most people who go and start a mission are terrified to talk to anyone specifically about Jesus or anything like that. So there's a lot of good skills and just the entrepreneurial ones in there as well. Like I figured out what my costs were, what it takes to do something, and it's helped
Good
me
money
basically had a
management.
business for, I don't know, I've been in business for 20 years. I've had about 6 of them now.
Yeah, this is so awesome. So you serve the mission in Minnesota. You come home. You begin school up at BYU, Idaho. You meet your beautiful wife, Jamie. How did you land at Sandhill Media and start working in the radio version of software engineering?
Yeah, sure. So I got my first internship just out of BYU, Idaho. It was with my father-in-law's business somewhere in Kansas, but it was remote, so I just stayed here, and that was miserable. It was just doing databases, and not to make it boring as heck, but it was boring. I don't even know what the company
Databases
did.
are
That's
boring.
how bad it was.
Yeah.
So then I ended up finding a second internship. It was with a man named John Seal. He's up in Rexburg. It was with, at the time, Volair Interactive. I think it's now Volair. It could be a few other names. I don't know what's happened since then. But it was a digital company, and I was doing websites because I initially went to school to become a video game designer and developer because I was very into video games and board games and that kind of stuff. And I discovered that industry is incredibly toxic. It'd be like work 80-hour weeks, and that's just, a baseline, and make sure you hit deadlines. It was not something I wanted to go and live my life. I wanted to have my downtime to actually have fun and do things.
And be a dad.
And
Yeah.
balloon.
Yeah. And board game.
Balloon. Yeah, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I got that job, and I had taken the LDS course, How to Find a Job or How to Get a Better Job. There was a self-reliance course, if you guys are familiar.
I actually teach that class up at BYU, Idaho. Not that one, but I teach the emotional resilience version because they have different ones. And so, yeah, it's really beneficial, but it's all volunteer. So good job at taking it.
I
Yes.
better not take that course because I need to stay here for a little bit longer.
Yeah. So while I was doing my internship there was 3 other guys who were also doing web development with me there, and it was a digital marketing company. So they were doing things like Costco and other businesses like that, just even in the local area to even the national area. So he showed me the things I didn't learn in my degree, how to make websites faster, how to do, just the things I didn't learn about. And I got really good at it really quickly because it was, in my opinion, really easy for me. I don't know why, it just felt that way to me. So I was teaching those guys, and then John was basically giving me all of the things I wanted to do to, actually expand upon my thing. Because it was an internship, and I actually didn't just learn from him. I also grew on what he knew and as well as what I could learn and know as well. So I then took the self-reliance course and the promise, because I don't know what it is about me and God making deals. Anytime I make a deal with him, he usually follows through. It says, if you will take this course, you will find a better job, or you will find a job by the time the end of it, within like 4 months or something like that. And I took him up on it, and I said, I will do everything you ask of me, and I will make it happen. And since then, this is the funny one. I've had 60 some interns here now at Sandhill Media Group, and I talk to them. I teach them all the things I do from the self-reliance class that I learned. I'm like, you got to communicate. You got to find the secret job market. You got to find people that talk to you, that kind of stuff. And I did that when I did it. And the way I found this job was, I think, on ZipRecruiter or something
or
like
Indeed,
that.
one of the two,
which is one of the worst ways to find a job, by the way. But that's how I found it. I met Matt Burgoyne, which is Jim Burgoyne's son here, and then he offered, it was for a WordPress developer position. And then when I met him, he's like, David, you're going to do all this digital stuff. I'm like, I don't know anything about that. But I was like, I'll be willing to learn, and I can do all the other stuff that I think you guys need. And that kind of led me to the job I have here now, not as a WordPress developer, but they gave me the digital marketing position, because they said, you need to build the digital department. Digital is the way of the future, and you're going to have a lot of opportunity to see like exponential growth that takes place here. So far, it's been kind
which
of
we have.
tracking out.
Yeah. Sandhill is growing tremendously. And for those who don't understand radio, it is so much more than tuning in your car. It has become so much bigger than that. It's one of the unique media outlets that has actually transitioned well into the digital age. Newspaper is dying. They haven't done as well transitioning. TV struggles a little bit. They're getting better.
Right.
I think they were a little slow
really
at catching up, but they're really trying. Radio's done a great job of creating digital products for the terrestrial radio audience, which is, you've got to keep up or else you get put out of business.
They just fit so well together.
Yes, they do.
So when we're seeing digital images, if we have that auditory message embedded in our brain, it just sticks better.
And I know both Alex and I appreciate all the work you do, because you help us out on a regular basis.
I know. I'm the girl that's like, okay, I just got this email. Let's run down to David and see if it's going to like break my phone, if it's spam, if it's like, I just don't trust myself, but I know that he'll just look at it immediately and like, yeah, don't open that. Just get rid of that.
So you love your job. Is it fair for me to say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You love your job, but that entrepreneurial spirit was still festering inside of you. You've done it since you were 12, so you got to keep it up. Yeah. So tell us about your game convention.
Yeah, so I run with John DeYoung Icon Board Game Convention, which happens every April and October. The way I got into that was actually kind of a funny Sandhill story after the end of the day. We have a sales, he was the national sales guide, Keith.
Yeah, Keith Walker.
Keith, he set up a career fair because the FCC has rules for us at the end of the day to say, hey, you got to go out there and you got to, outreach to the community.
Give back to the community.
So we set up a job fair, and we did that with the Snake River Events Center. And I just was, I used to go to a place called SaltCon down in Utah. It's exactly what I've implemented here. They're much bigger than us, but I knew the guys down there. I was like, what would it take for me to just implement that here? I just kind of thought about it. I'm like, I have every resource I need right now. I know pretty much most of the local community, at least the people who own businesses. I already know the person at the event center who will probably, cut me a deal or something like that. I also know that if I worked a way that I can make a win-win-win situation with Sandhill and the Snake River Event Center and Icon, I can make it happen. So I just put that down as a goal because I'm in the Young Men's program right now, and they have us do physical, intellectual, emotional, and there's one more. And spiritual goals. That's right. Yeah. So I did it with them. I set it up. I'm like, make a board game convention happen. That was just the goal I set for that year about 3 years ago. And then I just followed through. And then I met my business partner, John DeYoung, who had been running Icon for years before that, but they were very tiny. They maybe had, 200 people showing up on a semi-annual basis. And then they were, really cramped in there into their small building over in downtown Idaho Falls. So we built it up. We got the website. We got everything kind of built from there. And since then, we've been growing year after year. We're going to actually go from 3 days this year compared to the 2 we've been doing in the past.
And
it's coming up.
What's the membership?
Yeah.
What's the number you're at now?
So we're doing, I think, It's $25 if you buy before April this month, and then it's $35 for the 3-day event for the Icon convention.
So sorry,
for
in my
April.
question, I must have asked that wrong. Like you were about 200 members before when it was Icon. What?
Oh,
like,
we're hanging
what?
out in the 500s now. So
That's
we've
awesome.
more than doubled. Uh-huh.
Great job. Okay, for somebody who's never been to a gaming convention, explain it, because I think they might just be thinking video games, but that's not it.
There's actually no video games there at all.
Okay.
Board games.
Yep, it is board games. It's also role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. If you're a super nerd like me, you'll probably end up playing
like so the
role-playing
people
games.
we see in Toffus with cardboard swords.
No.
So that's LARPing.
That's LARPing. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What?
Dungeons and Dragons is a very popular board game that big groups play all the time. You will see them at the library, though. Groups get together and play at the library, or they'll play at a gaming store, or in an apartment up at BYU Idaho or whatever. So it's board games, Dungeons and Dragons. What is the most popular?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the main attraction for it is that we have over 1,000 board games to try. So if Monopoly is your kind of game, or maybe Settlers of Catan, anything like that. If board games you might play with your family.
What did you say?
Settlers
of Catan.
Oh my gosh, never heard of it.
Oh, super popular too.
That's even like
Settlers of Catan.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I need to get out more.
My favorite thing about Settlers of Catan is just something I make fun of in the church is if you are Mormon and roughly young or interested in board games, which most of them typically are with that culture, it's like you have to have faith in Jesus, you have to repent, you have to get baptized, receive the gift of the Holy Ghost, then you got to play Settlers of Catan.
Yeah, it's the next step. Like Mormon families play
Now
this,
it's all
and then
explained, but I don't know.
they hate each other at the end. They're
Yes.
like, they got to settle. Like, okay, we argued, we still love each other, but man, like that's what Settlers of Catan
Okay,
does
so
to you.
I grew up playing Sorry, Trivial Pursuit,
Those will be there.
Monopoly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So those are some of the classics is what I would call that. But we have a lot of board game conventions, exhibitors, those kinds of guys, and games from out the histories that were really great games that just were maybe too expensive to buy or anything like that. That I have games that cost like $500, if that makes any sense, just for one game. And it's in a box like, bigger
Like a
than
suitcase.
toaster, like
Yeah.
a suitcase essentially. And so, I mean, there's some really interesting games to play there that you can do socially. And then additionally, a lot of people, specifically me, whenever I try to play board games with my family or my in-laws, they look at me and they're like, I don't want to play with you. You're going to win. I'm like, just because I play good doesn't mean I don't want to play with you. You're more than welcome to beat me, but I'm not going to make it easy for you.
Yeah.
So it's been nice because I can find other people who are hot-headed and strong-headed like me on that. That we can, I actually have a lot of competition there, if that makes
Yeah,
any
you
sense.
found your
male
people.
egos.
Yeah, yeah.
I can imagine.
What's the
There's
most
tons.
unique game you have?
Oh, geez. Most unique game? That's hard. So I guess as far as for me personally, it's probably the modules I've made for Dungeons and Dragons. I have one called Better Than Life, and what it is, it's a medieval France kind of era where there's been a murderer going on with like a Jack the Ripper kind of character, and it's your job to solve the mystery, which is pretty fun. I've made a whole book about solving the mystery, and it's a D&D campaign that we play. And then the as far as Icon goes, I think the big game right now that people have been enjoying is called Heat. It's this little race car game where people will you're basically in like Formula One cars, if that makes any sense. And you roll the die. It's not even a dice game. It's actually a card game where you're trying to win the race. But if you get too much heat, what ends up happening is your car overruns and you'll spin out, and then you have to slow down and go back. So it's a lot about taking risks, but
So
calculated
is it like
risk.
Uno? You draw the card. I played Uno.
More like Sorry, but more extreme.
Okay.
Do you do the traditional card games like Pinochle, Bridge?
So my family, specifically on my dad's side of the family, started me with cribbage when I was about
Oh, I
6
play
or so.
cribbage.
Yeah. We would also play poker and blackjack and 21 and hearts. And so, I mean, I've played all those games.
I played all those too.
But that's
I
who
was not allowed to play cards growing
Sure.
up. I learned to play solitaire in my at college, though.
She hit it.
Yeah.
And she's like hiding solitaire in her bedroom.
And occasionally
was it a
I'll
taboo thing?
hit a blackjack table in Vegas just if someone else puts money down.
Yeah.
I'm good with numbers. But
Sure. I find it funny because there's like cultural things I find in the LDS church I didn't know about. For example, I think there was a movie in 1980 with, I think, Tom Hanks, and it was about him going crazy playing Dungeons and Dragons and killing his friends in a cave or something like that.
What?
Really?
And so, like, when I started playing D&D when I was about 18, my dad was like, you can't be playing that. You're going to be doing devil worshiping. I'm like, There's no devil
No,
worshiping
not
in this.
really.
I just think it sounds scary.
It kind of does.
I'm not a fan of dragons or dungeons, but
Get to be the hero of your own adventure.
like I'm thinking the Count of Monte Cristo is going to come down in the dungeon and like people are going to be shackled.
That
I don't
could
know.
be a scenario, yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Well, maybe you should, build
Yeah, you
that
can write a
bundle,
new one.
which I don't even understand.
You could write a new scenario.
The Count of Monte Cristo is a board game there. Uh-huh.
Oh, really?
There are
See?
themes like that. There's even like John Carter, if you know the Mars one, if that makes any sense from the
John Carter.
books. No, okay,
Yeah.
It's I think it came out in the 40s or something like that. I could be wrong on that, but I do
Oh,
know
that
there's.
predates me.
Yeah, you're
the
me,
40s.
me too.
Just slightly.
I know it's very popular with a lot of people though, but yeah. Uh-huh.
So you mentioned $25 if you buy before April, $35 if you buy after, and it's on the 28th, you said?
It is the 26th, 27th, and 28th.
Okay. How do people get a ticket?
So if they go to icongaming.us, they'll find how to buy a badge there, and then that's what they need to do. Or they can do it at the door. They can just show up at the Snake River Event Center on the Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. It starts at noon on Thursday, and it's all day for the next 2 days. It's starting at 9 a.m. Yeah, it's as easy as that.
All ages.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. This is a very kid-friendly event. That's the best part. We have games for kids and that kind of stuff, too. We let anyone under the age of 12 in for free. That's just something that we do for fun. And then teenagers, we have a discounted rate for, and then adults have the cost that I mentioned before.
So Easter baskets, get your tickets. Stuff
You
them
could
in
do
there.
that. Would be fun. And you could, because I'm all about experience gifts. You know, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
And this would be an experience gift. This would be going with your family
I would
members
need
and
to,
doing that.
to set myself up, like build up my ego before I went, because
you're gonna get
I
beat.
would lose a lot.
Yeah.
'Cause I would not
I'm
know.
actually the David of my family.
Oh, really?
My kids are always like, "You're always winning," and so we choose games that I'm not as good at, like anything that's cards and counting cards. Yeah, it's my
I'm
thing.
really good at like charades, categories, Pictionary, that kind of stuff.
There's some social games there, too. You
But-
might like a game called Werewolf. You have to figure out who's killing everybody.
Oh, I've
No.
played Werewolf.
There you go. Or
Yeah.
Mafia,
Okay, I
that's another
don't
one.
like killing things. Like other,
That's fair.
other than the tennis court, I love to kill my opponent.
There is no tennis, but maybe there is a smaller version of tennis in a board game. Okay, did we miss out on anything on Icon Games? Anything more you wanted to cover about that?
If you guys do consider to come, like I said, we do this every 6 months in October and April. I would highly recommend if it's your first time ever, like if it's something that you guys did for the first time, you would probably want to go with a friend. It's much better if you have someone to play with.
Go with a friend.
Yeah, it's less scary. That's the first part I'd say on that, because I think there's a little
just
bit
not
of
as
like,
intimidating.
Ooh, I don't know about this, but if you can go there, you can go and check out a game together, and then if you guys look around, you might say that looks like fun. Maybe you can join in, and that seems not as scary to people. Going by yourself is kind of, I would say, maybe more intimidating. That's just my personal thoughts on it.
What about food? Is there food available?
Yep, you can buy foods there. They usually have nachos, pizza, pulled pork sandwiches, that kind of stuff.
Lovely. Lovely. Okay.
Where do we want to go now?
Yeah, well, I was going to say we could ask him about his life advice. We've learned all about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we ask everybody on We Share because it's about sharing, to give us something about their life. Maybe the life lesson you live by, maybe a motto, maybe a silly story that taught you something.
And you have 3 children. I can't remember. Are they all girls?
Oh, I have a girl and 2 boys.
Okay, a girl and 2 boys.
Hey.
So, I mean, would it be life advice you'd want them to leave for them?
I don't know if I'm
Or
the best parents. I don't know if we'll give parental advice.
Do
But-
you teach them balloon art?
Have
they
they're a
seen
little
you
too
do it?
little still. They have seen it, and they beg me for it all the time.
Oh, I'm sure they're like, my dad is amazing.
Yeah,
a little
I'm
bit of
sure
that.
That's
they
what
do.
I would think if my dad was like, here you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, I would think that too.
But yeah, as far as life advice, if I was to give any, probably be career advice. It's probably something I've helped, because I've helped more than 60 interns actually find jobs they want to be in. It's have initiative. Honestly, a lot of people today wait for something good to happen to them. Why don't you just do the good or become the good you want to see? A lot of people, it's the same thing with me starting the board game convention. It's because I wanted it here. I didn't want to travel down to Utah anymore. But yet again, having initiative is probably the biggest lacking skill that I see with most of the youth and younger people this generation. It's why don't you just do something about it today? Specifically, if you're like 16, I'm like, you have no bills, no taxes, really. You have no really big worries. You're fed every night. You have a bed, probably. Go do something with your life. Don't just play video games all day. Do something that's, going to get you to where you want to be or be the change you want to be. Just have initiative.
Great advice.
I like that. I mean, yeah, don't wait.
Yeah,
right?
live with intent.
You did share multiple stories with that where you wrote something down and then you made it happen. And that's where it starts, right? Just take action, start moving.
Well, that leads me to ask, you've completed the goal of Icon.
Oh, yeah.
Have you written down a new goal? And do you want to share it with us?
He's going to write the book like My Mom Was a Clown, right?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I guess for me, the thing that I would do, so every year I do my 8 goals, if that makes any sense, with 2 spiritual, 2 physical, 2 intellectual, and 2 emotional ones. I have not been doing so good with my physical ones. That's actually the one I'm the weakest at. I don't like working out and a bunch of other funny things. Yeah. It's not fun to me. So I've been trying to gamify it lately. So I've been playing Beat Saber at night. If you don't know what that is, it's a VR headset game where you have 2 lightsabers and you're just basically like attacking things.
So it's actual physical activity.
Yes, but it's not boring. Just do 1,000 reps of this.
Yeah.
So you're combining one passion with something you don't really like. It's called habit stacking, kind of.
Yes,
so
totally is habit stacking.
Yeah, so that's my big one I'm trying to do because I'm getting a little softer in the center.
I noticed he's got a great dad bod.
That happens after 3 kids. It's just what happens.
After 3 kids, especially when you're the girl.
I bet.
My husband used to say to me, why do I gain weight with you with every pregnancy, but you lose it and I don't? And I'm like,
it's
I
the
don't
sympathetic
know.
weight. It's the bowls of ice cream.
Yeah.
I had a lot of ice cream while I was pregnant. Yeah.
I ate a lot of peanut butter. That was my thing. And Chinese food. I think I like the salt of the Chinese food.
I think you do need extra salt. Something about growing a baby.
Yeah. Well, David, thank you so much. I knew there was so many layers. And when Alex said she had asked you to come, I'm like, well, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I know we can.
I knew a few little stories. I do think I remembered you were a balloon artist or something about Disneyland. And I'm like, I just always follow my promptings when I invite guests on or I meet people. I'm like, we haven't had David on. He needs to be on. And I didn't know exactly why, but now I do.
Now
today
we know.
after spending time with you.
We've probably only tapped the surface. There's probably more. All right, David, thank you. And from both me and Alex, and a special thank you for always helping us and being such a great coworker.
Work life smooth.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us today on the We Share podcast.
If you've loved what you've heard, please give us a 5-star rating. Tell your friends and share this show.
You can also follow us for recipes, lifestyle and fashion tips, book reviews, and more on WeSharePodcast.com.
Join our Share Squad and sign up for our newsletter there.
We would love to connect with you.
We share on TikTok, Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram. Give us a follow.
A big goodbye squeeze and sending you all our love from Alex and Julie.
Join us next week on the We Share podcast.